Welcome, everyone, to the Bristol, Tennessee Historic Preservation Awards for 2023. My name is Sherith Young, and I'm the Director of Community Development for the City of Bristol. Tonight marks the fourth time we've held these preservation awards. They get better every time, and we're very excited to celebrate historic preservation tonight in the city with all of you, and to recognize, most importantly, all of the individuals and award winners tonight who have put such tremendous love and effort into preserving some of Bristol's community treasures. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Our Historic Preservation Awards program honors individuals, organizations, and their projects for their contributions to preserving and protecting historic buildings in our city. These awards are important because they raise awareness of the value of historic preservation, and hopefully they encourage others to engage in similar efforts. Most importantly, they serve to celebrate the hard work and dedication of those involved in preserving the past for our future generations. So please allow me to just introduce a couple people in the room tonight, and then we will get to the awards. So first of all, we have Councilman Malin Luttrell here on the front row. We have City Manager Kelly Bourgeois in the back. I'd also like to thank a couple people, certainly Pins and Friends for hosting us in this amazing venue tonight. This is wonderful, just a really exciting spot to host an awards program like this. We'd like to take the time to thank everyone who has filled out an application, took the time to send one in. I'd like to thank the city's Community Relations Department, so that's John Luttrell, Ann Dunham, Jamie Helbert, Brennan Dye, and Scott Hill. Over the course of these 4 years, they've grown into just absolute partners on this project with us, and they certainly are responsible for elevating it to what it's become tonight. I'd like to thank community development staff, so I have Bretta Mornings, who, if this doesn't show that she's the glue that holds it together, she's back here behind me tonight working on the presentation, so thank you to her efforts. Also to Heather Moore. Heather is here on the front row as well. She's been responsible and helped develop this program for 4 years, and really has been the shepherd that's kept it going. I'd like to thank the Historic Preservation Awards Committee, who's here this evening. Several of you are here this evening. If you don't mind to just stand or kind of wave your arm, there's a great committee that helps us review these awards and helps us to get out and promote the awards. So thank you guys for being here tonight. And then I'd like to thank, I think we have at least a couple folks, and I know we have Catherine Brillhart here with us from the Bristol, Virginia Historic Preservation Awards. Brenda Otis is also here with us, so thank you all. They've been very wonderful and supportive with our program, as we hope we have been with yours. And to share in that support of each other, we'd like to share a quick video, our first video of the night, that highlights the Bristol, Virginia Awards awarded earlier this year.
The Bristol, Virginia Historic Preservation Committee earlier this year presented awards in each of the city's 3 historic districts, and one citywide award that recognizes the restoration of a historic property elsewhere in the city. Euclid Avenue Historic District, the Leonard Home at 441 Euclid Avenue. Originally built in 1926 for Colonel C.L. and Dixie Kidd, this Tudor Revival style home has been restored with new stucco, a synthetic slate roof, new windows and garage doors, and updated landscaping. An interesting feature of this home is the Tudor arch porch. Solar Hill Historic District, the Campbell Home at 238 Oak Street. Located within Bristol's oldest residential neighborhood, this Victorian-style home was built in 1903. The exterior has been repainted with appropriate period colors, new windows, and siding has been added, and ornament details on the front of the home and porch flooring have been replaced. Bristol Commercial Historic District, the Southern Churn at 627 State Street. Built in 1910, the 2-story building was purchased by Karen Hester in 2004 and restored as authentically as possible to preserve the retail character of downtown Bristol. The original brick facade was uncovered. Damaged road pavers within the building were replaced with salvaged material from a Roanoke Railroad station, and missing cornices, brackets, decorative window headers, dentils, and emblems were custom fabricated and installed. Citywide Award, New People's Bank at 901 West State Street, Located at the gateway to Bristol's downtown, this 1924 building was restored with exterior brick to match a neighboring boutique hotel, and Greystone accepts inspired by Tennessee High School's Stone Castle. Replica musical instruments have been added to the lawn to create a space for community gatherings. The citywide award recognizes properties within the city limits but outside of a historic district. Congratulations to each of these award winners, and thank you for your efforts to champion Bristol's historic preservation efforts.
All right, thank you. Thank you guys for being here tonight. So we'll start our awards program tonight with the first award, which will go to the Bristol Downtown Commercial Historic District winner. And the award winner tonight, in case you were not watching the screen as a preview, is the building we're sitting in tonight. So Pins and Friends, located here at 700 State Street. The original building that was at this address was built in 1922 by Colonel James Barker, and if you can imagine it was part of the westward expansion of downtown Bristol. The address has been home to several businesses in its history, including a restaurant, fruit stand, the Green Lantern Bar, and the Uncle Sam's Loan Office. The original building was destroyed by fire in the mid-20th century and rebuilt several years later. In recent years, everyone may have noticed it's been used for storage and as a Liberty tax office before the current owners purchased it and embarked on the major renovations that have been undertaking to create a downtown gathering spot that now includes this duck pin bowling alley, arcade games, and a party room and a restaurant. Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Robinette have made extensive renovations to the building. The style is typical of a mid-century commercial building with very clean lines. And as if a historic preservation project itself isn't complicated enough, the building sits over top of Beaver Creek, which required significant care, planning, and design. So if you want to see that, you can peek out the back window here and see the creek running under the building. This project is exemplary in our downtown, both in contribution to character. It provides so much fun, and if you haven't tried it, to die for popcorn. So congratulations to Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Robinette for Pins and Friends.
We're on the corner of 7th Street and State, so 700 State, so it's a great address, really easy to remember. And it sits on top of Beaver Creek, which is another unique aspect of downtown Bristol. We saw some old pictures where there was actually a bridge. It was an actual bridge, not a covered culvert that it is now. But there used to be an old bridge that you can see the Beaver Creek on the other side. It was really interesting to see that, and that was like the turn of the last 2 centuries ago. I keep forgetting we're in the 21st century now, but so yeah, it's interesting history in downtown. It'd be kind of fun to go back in time and see when the passenger rail service was here, and we had hotels and brothels and all kinds of fun stuff downtown. And I think the duck pin bowling would have gone just as well back then as it does now.
So I studied and went into the City of Bristol directory, going back all the way to 1901, and it was a confectioner's and a fruiterer's, which I'm not sure what that is, but it also was a oyster and fish bar, and then it turned out to be a junk salvage store, and then it went into a Macmillan's restaurant. That was back in the 1917s, around that area. And then around 1929, Uncle Sam's loan office moved in here. And I'm not sure the date it burned down, but it was around the 40s. And People's Drugstore moved over to the Tennessee side and built over here after that happened. And after they left, it became a series of many different things. I think a lot more bars. Green Lantern and Bronco was another one. And I think that Bronco may have been the last thing that was in here before it became an annex of the Cameo.
It's hard to explain why that was, but we actually were considering downtown after another restaurant owner on the Virginia side had some space available and really made us an offer that we couldn't refuse, even though we did refuse it. And then I was just driving in the car one day and daydreaming, and I called Martin and said, "What about the building across from the Cameo?"
I was just coming out of Burger Bar for breakfast, and I happened to notice the for sale sign in the window, and I said, "I'm staring right at that right now," and I was going to call you and tell you about the same thing.
So it kind of lightning struck at the same time. We got the number and we made phone calls, and several months later we were able to purchase the building, and so we were excited. I mean, the downtown's very exciting right now. I mean, when I first moved up here 20-something odd years ago, and of course Martin's a native, but you know, there was a time period where things weren't as positive for downtown, and that's changed, and you can feel it. And with the addition of the downtown hotels and other people willing to invest in downtown, you know, it's a really good feeling to know that there's a lot of people that feel the same way that we do about investing in downtown Bristol. The community down here is real supportive of each other, and the organizations that support downtown are real supportive. So we're excited about being downtown, and glad that we were able to take a building that was just really not even noticed by a lot of people that visited, and we're turning it into hopefully a centerpiece of downtown.
Once we saw this location, we wanted this location, and really nothing else looked good.
But it's kind of funny, as soon as we put the windows and people noticed the windows, they're like, "What was here before?" Because, you know, it was just the brown painted windows, and it was sort of like blended in to just the corner. So I think a lot of people didn't even know there was a building here until we recreated it. So we're excited about it. We have plans for an upstairs or rooftop bar area, maybe perhaps a patio area like you see. It's very popular downtown. So, you know, that's the next big step. And just continue to grow our brand and let people know that we're more than a bowling alley. We got good food and good drinks and, you know, events. So that's what we're working on. So there's some beautiful buildings. I mean, actually there's the building we first looked at 10, 11 years ago is still available. It's a 3-story building. It's a gorgeous building. It's just, you won't find people who are willing to invest in building the buildings with those nice architectural features like that in a downtown setting. It's just not worth it. It doesn't mean anything to the bottom line. So to take an older building that was built that way and invest in it, and to save that that architecture or that style or that character, I think it's worth it. It takes a little bit more money. Don't get me wrong, it does, but you can't buy that character. It's hard to buy a character. It's hard to create character from the ground up with today's construction and codes and everything else that you have to do. So it was an adventure. And again, another shout out with Burr Wheel. Honestly, I think if we had any other general contractor, I don't know that would be open right now, because they were able to find solutions to issues, work with the city to get us up and going. So I really believe that with all my heart that really Burr Wheel was as much of an important part of opening than me getting the business license.
Yeah, they did.
I'm excited because I don't think we've seen the best of downtown Bristol yet. I think there's still a lot of plans and a lot of things to be done down here, and I think it's going to be exciting and fun to be part of that growth. So, you know, there's a lot of people moving from other parts of the country to this part of the country, you know, and we're ready to entertain them and amuse them, and you know, I think everybody who comes to Bristol recognizes how special it is to have a downtown, to have this unique, you know, Virginia, Tennessee relationship. So I think that we'll just see this area grow more and more, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be part of it.
It's pretty special. Just from living here all my life, it's grand to be downtown and just be part of this wonderful community and all the nice people who are our neighbors and our next door. We help each other out, and it's just a really nice thing. And
bravo. So next up we have the Fairmount Neighborhood Historic District. Our award winner tonight in the Fairmount District is Deborah Nunn, owner of 800 Georgia Avenue. Miss Nunn has owned this home for over a decade. It was originally built in 1910, and it's an example of a Queen Anne house with Italianate influence. Unique features of the home include original leaded glass windows and religious statuary located above the second-story windows. If you have the opportunity to drive by, you'll notice Miss Nunn's home is similar in size and architecture to the one located just next door at 808 Georgia Avenue. Both homes were built by renowned Bristol builder Samuel McCrary and are known throughout the Fairmount community as sister houses. We think that there are 5 of them. The brick siding and trim have been masterfully preserved with only minor repairs over the years. A crumbling concrete carport was removed by the current owner, and it was replaced with a deck at the rear of the house. The deck fits nicely with the overall style of the home and provides additional outdoor living space to enjoy the historic neighborhood.
My house and the house right next door to me have a very similar footprint. There's been some updates to each house over the years, so they don't look exactly the same. But my understanding is that it was a mom and dad who had 2 daughters, and they built each one of them a house. And so for years and years, as long as anyone can remember, my house and the house next door have been referred to as the sister houses. The home was built in 1910. And I was very interested in a home that had a lot of unique features, hardwood, the leaded glass windows, just the woodwork throughout the house. And this house has been meticulously maintained. So the first time I went in it, I fell in love with it. I've owned the home, it was 10 years August, and I have built this fabulous deck on the back, which is probably my favorite part of the house. If it's raining, I have a front porch swing, I have furniture on the front porch, and it's incredibly peaceful. If the weather's nice, I have a fire pit on my deck, and I love to sit outside. It's surrounded by trees, so there's plenty of shade and kind of like a little bit of a noise barrier. And I can stay out there till 11 o'clock at night. I can go out and have coffee in the morning, either on the front porch or on the deck. There's just a lot of outdoor space, and I love it. So the outside, about 3 years ago, I did have to have some repairs done and had it repainted. And then this year, I put new black gutters on, which I think really make the house pop. 2 bedrooms upstairs and 3 rooms downstairs have the original windows. The windows upstairs still open, and they're on the original, like the wood pulley system. So you can see the ropes in the track. The windows downstairs don't open, the leaded glass windows, but there have been several rooms that they've replaced the windows in, and those do. So you do get some outdoor noise, like birds and the breeze and a little rain. I love to listen to the rain, but yeah. And then there's some really heavy pocket doors between the living room and the dining room that are on the original. I had heard at one point it was German engineered pulley system, and it is, it's just amazing how well it works and how long it's lasted. So there's a lot of really neat features inside. There's so much character in an older home, and this house thankfully has central heat and air upstairs and downstairs, and then it also has the original boiler. I don't think the boiler's original, but the radiator heat still works. So I have really warm, inexpensive heat during the winter, and you know, that's helpful when it comes to utility bills. So yeah, I just love the character of it, and it would be hard to go back to a new build or something, you know, like that. I don't know the names of the saints that are protecting the house, but I'm awfully glad to have them there. I do think that the wraparound porch, you know, if you go down to Charleston or Savannah and you see the porches with the blue roofs, it's to keep out the bad spirits. So I think this house is pretty well protected between the blue roof on the porch and the statues. I feel pretty protected there. Now there was a little bit of a story when I first moved in that maybe one of the previous owners thought that there might have been some spiritual activity inside the house. One thing I love about this neighborhood is you can spend as much time getting to know your neighbors as you want, or as little time. You know, people out walking their dogs and they stop and talk to you. You can walk downtown from here. You can walk to church from here. You know, it's within walking distance. I've walked over to Food City, CVS. It's just, I feel safe walking at night here. I sit out on my front porch at night. It's very quiet. You know, it's just a great neighborhood to live in. And the location, you know, is awesome. It's an honor and a privilege really to maintain and try to, any improvements you make, try to maintain the integrity of the originality of the house, and you know, just really feel like you're here for a season. You know, you will pass it on to the next buyer at some point, and hopefully they will love it as much as you did and try to maintain as much of the originality as you have. And my hope is that you know, when I'm done here and the next person buys it, that they will love it as much as I did and will take care of it, you know, and hopefully maintain it.
Congratulations, Mrs. Nunn. Next up on our awards list is the Holston Avenue Neighborhood Historic District. And the award winner tonight is Barbara Kitty Williams, owner of 1228 7th Avenue. So this home is an example of it's a red brick 2-story colonial revival home, and it was built in 1927 by George Franklin Helms Sr. on land purchased from A.B. Reynolds. Mrs. Williams and her husband purchased the home 50 years ago and have worked lovingly to restore and maintain it. It's taken them several years, but they have maintained the 4-column portico, large picture windows, and an indoor sun porch. They even have some very well-maintained and original landscaping to the property. If the name Helms sounds familiar to you, it's probably because you've had a piece of the yummy candy made down the street at the Helms Candy Company. In honor of this, the Williamses named the home the Homestead, and that was after one of the first candies made by the Helms Company. This home was placed on the Bristol Historical Association Registry in 2009, and of course became part of the larger National Historic District listing with the whole Holston Avenue District in 2012. And I thought really special, Ms. Williams concluded her application with the perfect preservation ethos, saying that it was their joy and pride to make their home in this place of living history and to provide for its continual care for the future.
When we first drove up, my husband and I, and there was a for sale sign outside, I looked at it and I thought, this is the home I want. This is a really great home. And so we knew immediately that it was important and that we would enjoy this place. This home is rather unique because it's an early, nearly 100-year-old home. It's a colonial revival type home, and if you can see the portico or porch has kind of a temple-like covering or roof, and originally it had 8 columns around it, but those columns were really in terrible shape when we moved here, and they were rotten actually, and so we took all those out and we replaced them with 4. We added the stairs because the insurance company required that of us. The porch was so high. But it's a very charming home, as you can see, and it kind of leads you up two pairs of steps and makes you realize that you're coming into an important home. It was built in 1927 by George Frank Helms Sr., and he was the leading and original stick candy company founder in Bristol, and quite a personality and quite a smart fella. We heard some of the history of this, and it interested me at that time. I thought, this is quite an important home. And so I tucked that away for years till I had opportunity to work on some of the research and find out about it. So in 2009, we got this listed with the local Bristol Historical Association, and then in 2012 it was placed on the National and Tennessee Registry of Historic Places, and by the National Park Service and Department of Interior. I did a lot of research and looked at different styles of homes, and to actually figure out that this was a colonial revival home. So it's a 2-story and has the portico, or the small front porch, the welcoming porch, and the windows, the large windows on either side, a lot of small panes in the windows. Most of those windows are the original windows of the home, and frequently they had some porches, 2 areas on each side of the house that gave it a stable look, a uniform look. Many of those colonial homes were brickwork, and this is the original bricks that are here, and that has not changed, and the windows have not changed except for the sun porch, which is located on the right-hand side, and those have been changed, and those in the kitchen have been changed. A lot of the wood sometimes rots and has to be replaced, and so today's the special windows. So but we have tried to maintain the home just as we found it originally. The rooms are still the same size, and we did not reconstruct anything inside the home. And also, many things that you find in the yard here are the same. These railings that come up, those are the same. The sidewalks are the same. The porch is the same as it was. The whole structure, we have tried to maintain the originality of the home. One of the things that I really like about living in a historic home is knowing that I'm helping to preserve something. It's an important part of history, and if you don't know your history, how can you know your future?
Congratulations, Mrs. Williams. So tonight we still have 2 stewardship awards to award. The first stewardship award this year goes to a familiar name that kept reoccurring as our committee discussed preservation in Bristol. a familiar couple name, that is. Eric and Christina Blevins. The Blevins have been instrumental in the revitalization of downtown. With encouragement from both sides of the state line, they purchased a condemned building in the 500 block of State Street and began the first of many restoration projects to provide luxury loft living downtown. They also embarked on a campaign visiting civic clubs and community organizations to provide updates on ongoing downtown restoration projects that generated excitement and sparked further restoration of Bristol's historic structures. Through this work, they created fervor for downtown living that helped transform the downtown historic district. Eric has said that finding charming buildings in the heart of the city and teaming up with architects, contractors, and bankers who understand the unique challenges and special rewards of historic rehabilitation is key. The Stewardship Award tonight recognizes their continued effort to find new uses for old buildings.
It started for me, I was working as an assistant golf pro at the old farm, and there was a copy of Marquee magazine laying on the table, and I picked it up and started flipping through it and found there was an article written about the old travel agency. Was one of the first loft apartments ever built in downtown Bristol, and I was just flipping through this magazine. I really didn't know anything about Marquee magazine or anything about really downtown all that much, and as I'm flipping through, I just see this picture of this really awesome contemporary loft, and under it just said Bristol. And I'm like, huh, is really? That's in Bristol? So it kind of got my attention, and on my day off, which was Monday, I found myself in downtown just looking up at buildings, trying to figure out maybe what's in that, you know, where is this? And turned out the kid that lived there worked at the golf course, so I was able to go and take a look at the apartment, and it really just got me very interested in it. And over the next year or two, it was just Mondays walking through antique stores, meeting really passionate people about downtown. Gene Burnett was the number one for me. I would find myself in there on Monday spending hours talking to Gene about downtown, and I spent a lot of time looking at the H.P. King building. That was the first building I was really interested in doing. I was only 25 years old, so I couldn't do it, but I had big aspirations to do it. And spent a lot of time with Gene, which introduced me to people like Margaret Feyerabend and Vicey Dotson on the Virginia side, and Mike Sparks on the Tennessee side. All of these people over the course of, call it a year, where I was really getting interested in downtown. I would say when I'm evaluating a property, like this one, for example, the Remington, this one was big for me because it had the character that it needs. It had the tall ceilings. It had 360 degrees of windows, which is what you really want. And this building being off State Street, away from the noise, available parking, 360-degree windows, it has the character, and you have to buy it right. You have to feel like you're buying a decent deal because the cost to renovate historic buildings is generally more expensive than new construction. So there's a lot you have to learn about these buildings when you're getting into them. But this building was built in 1890. It was an old candy factory. Like, it was one of the first things that was there. It was a candy factory. It was a denim factory. You know, it's been a lot of things, but the last thing it was typewriter sales and service, and that's where the Remington name came from, because when I first looked at the building with the previous owner, there were just hundreds of old typewriters in the building, and Remington was everywhere, so I'm like, Remington. That's what it'll be. So my wife has been the rock that's kept me from losing it. Normally how it works is I find a building, we go look at it, she tells me I'm crazy and says, no, don't do it. And then I buy it, and then she ends up supporting me. While I was out here dreaming up all these things, she continued to work and have a full-time job with health insurance, and I'm just chasing the future. She was taking care of us in the present and still is taking care of us in the present. We're very proud of what we've done, and we all see it as a group effort. You know, there were some early people like the Johnstons that built the loft above the travel agency. It's the State Line Bars. It's Karen Hester, there's a little group that really got things moving, and I'm just very proud to have been part of that group. And currently you got people like, well, Joe Gregory was really early with the Bristol post office, and then renovated this building. And Alan Hurley has really thrown his hat in there and picked up big chunks of real estate that people couldn't afford to restore. So it's great. Coming from Grundy, I grew up in a very cool small town. Like when I grew up, it had a downtown. And when I was graduating high school, they had torn it all down and built a Walmart. So, it's kind of like, I'm proud of where I'm from, but at the same time, I understood what a downtown was like, because I used to go to the Benjamin Franklin, and I would go do those things, and I would eat at I would eat at the little restaurants. I loved it. There was movie theaters down there, and they got torn down. I consider myself a Bristol native now. I've been here 22 years, so I'm a Bristolian. I've been here longer than I haven't been here. So, it's definitely home. And I've had tons of opportunities to invest in Johnson City, Kingsport. I just say no within a second. I have no interest in it, only because this is home. There's still tons of potential on this street just waiting. And I'll be probably still renovating buildings in Bristol when I'm 20 years from now.
Congratulations, guys. So our final award this evening is for our second Stewardship Award. And again, as the committee was talking, there's another name that kept coming up over and over. The name of an individual who works tirelessly to ensure the preservation and maintenance of a historic property that's in their care. And that individual is Brenda Otis with the Bristol Historical Association. And this is for her tireless work to preserve and maintain the 1223 Anderson Street home, where Bristol's native son, Ernest Jennings Ford, was born in 1919. The Bristol Historical Association purchased the 800 square foot home in 1991, and Mrs. Otis spearheaded the efforts to return the home to its original condition. She was also instrumental in finding period pieces for the home. For years, the home served as the headquarters and meeting space for the Historical Association. And still today, it's dedicated to displaying Tennessee Ernie Ford memorabilia. Ms. Otis serves as the caretaker of the home. She oversees routine maintenance and welcomes visitors by sharing stories of Ford's early life in Bristol and the highlights of his amazing career. This Stewardship Award recognizes the ongoing efforts to preserve this piece of Bristol history.
Ernest Jennings Ford, that's who was born here. Later on he became Tennessee Ernie Ford. But this is his birthplace, and this is his favorite little house that he lived in here in Bristol. Bud Phillips, he decided he wanted to find the birthplace. He thought, it's got to be around here somewhere, and he's the one that found the house. Any research that he's done on it, we could not find when this little house was actually built. Now, Ernie was born here in 1919, so it had to be somewhere in the early 1900s or late 1800s, we're not sure. But the Historical Association was looking for a place for our headquarters. And since Bud found the house, we thought, well, what a better place than to have our headquarters in a historical home like the birthplace of Tennessee Ernie Ford. So we had to dicker a little bit with the lady who owned the house, and she was really good about helping us purchase the house and gave us back a little money as a donation after we purchased the house. The house was covered in 2 layers of, one was an asphalt shingle and one was the aluminum siding. So we knew we had to get all of that siding off the house and back down to the original carport. The windows had been made into small windows. We had to find the original size windows that went in the house. So we were able to purchase a lot of that in a house that was being torn down the street. So we tore up the flooring because she had put down wall-to-wall carpeting throughout the house, and she'd taken up the original floors. She'd taken out the ceilings. She put popcorn ceilings in, so we had to put the tongue and groove ceilings back in. And then our biggest project was the kitchen. And that was a modern kitchen, so we had to take everything out, got the kitchen out and start from scratch on that and find a cook stove and the big old cast iron sink and everything that would have been in this house in 1919, yeah. We've put a new roof on, we've had the chimney replaced, we've replaced the porch. We keep up with the plumbing and the grounds. We had a house that was here next door that we were able to buy and tear down to enlarge a parking space for our visitors. So it's just the upkeep. We paint, you know, just stuff, anything that you would do with your own home. Well, the whole purpose is to keep Ernie's name out there, to let people in Bristol know that this is one of their famous people from this town. Anybody that is interested in Ernie likes to stop in and look at the house. We get them from everywhere, as far away as California, you know, Florida, up north, way up north, Maine. They come in. We get them from all over.
Congratulations, winners. And I should have said the plaques that you received are pre-drilled, so you can hang them when you get home this evening. We'll ride by in the morning and see them out, I'm sure. But sincerely, congratulations to all of you. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I think that the Pins and Friends crew has Singo coming up next. So 7 o'clock Singo, but feel free to have some snacks and fellowship on the way out, and they'll move these seats back for Singo if anybody's up for a game at 7. So thank you guys so much for coming out.